Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast.
I learned about it in some ways the hard way. When Essentialism was published and suddenly becomes a New York Times bestseller and it's just all over the world. It was way more than I had ever hoped for.
Yeah.
And so what that did to my life was marvelous, right? I mean, as I'm traveling all over the world, I'm working with people. Everyone I'm working with wants to learn about Essentialism. Everyone's already read it. They're just trying to ask questions. I mean, it's just like, you just their whole life becomes, I want to say yes to everything that's coming at me because they're all good things. They're all qualified leads. That every conversation is great. I'm in addition to, in inverted commas, being the father of Essentialism, I was by this time father to 4 children. And so I want to be there for them. And I tried to do lots of creative things. They would come with me on trips. Most of the time I would have a child come with me and we travel. So we have all these great things. There's lots going on that's positive and good. I wanted to respond to every email that came in. I wanted to hear people's stories about how Essentialism had impacted them. So there's no motivation issue either. I'd been more selective than I'd ever been in my life. I wasn't teaching the class at Stanford anymore. I chose not to do a whole workshop business that could have been done. And I hadn't written another book as I was, you're supposed to do one every 18 months. And I just said no to that for years. And even so with all of that, right, that's all the good news. But with actually, it still felt too much. And so that created an interesting sort of quandary. So I was on a trip working with some really enlightened entrepreneurs, and I remember that the idea of the big rocks theory had come to the fore. I'm sure you know the big rocks theory, right? And I'm sure everybody watching or listening to this does. The idea is that the mentor brings in a big container, fills it with small rocks, and then
then the sand,
And at first, the problem is the big rocks don't fit because, and so the solution is that you bring in a new container and you put the big rocks in first and then the small rocks afterwards. And even then you put sand and then water. Okay.
And fill those gaps,
That's how it's supposed to work, right? However, what happens, and this is what I was certainly wrestling with, what happens if you just have too many big rocks?
That's the thing.
Then they don't fit.
Yeah.
So even while I completely believe in Essentialism and everything that I wrote in Essentialism, there's still another dilemma. That's not the only dilemma when facing doing what matters. You strip away the non-essentials. That's a great step forward, but I felt like I was somewhere close to doing that, and there's still too much. And as I'm having that sort of that experience, I'm there in the hotel room, and I get a phone call. It's my son calling on my wife's phone, which was itself already unusual, totally grabbed my attention. And he's pale-faced, he's clearly stressed, he's very worried. He's trying to explain to me what's going on. And I can hear my wife in the background saying, turn the phone around. And, he's saying, yeah, Eve, she was eating, then something's happened to her head. And what was happening is that she was having a massive seizure. And don't have to go into all the details of that just now, but it was the beginning of an unbelievable, 2-year journey of just agonizing experience, undiagnosed neurological set of problems.
Gosh.
So that's in the midst of the feeling of already this is.
It is already, yeah.
And so what followed was the awareness that a huge shift needs to take place.
Yeah.
That you have to find a different path. I found myself directly at the limits, in a sense, of Essentialism. And now the need to find a different way to do the things. Which thing am I going to put down? Do I want to put down providing for my family? Do I want to put down helping Eve get well? Which thing will suddenly put things back in the right proportion? You've got to find a different way of doing life.
Yeah.
You're confronted with this. And so this is, this so effortless in a sense grew out of, pain and agony.
Thanks for watching this little teaser for the Tiny House Ideas podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, it's available on all major streaming platforms. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all of the others. Alternatively, if you'd rather watch it sort of in a video format like this video has been, then that's available on Patreon. Just search for Tiny House Ideas. So thanks again for watching. Please do check out the full episode, and thanks again.